Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 8 of the anime series Kantai Collection, KanColle. And this was really another enjoyable episode. Thoroughly for me, it had humanistic and pathos-laden moments. It had a little bit of comedy, a little bit of drama, some action. This was like a pitch-perfect episode, especially that it was a downtime episode. They didn't go, balls to the wall, over the top with the comedy and everything. There were some nice little comedic moments, and this was like the perfect mesh. This is what I wish the series would have been all told. Some of the episodes I've had issue with where they go over the top with the comedy and the absurdity, and I feel like this episode was kind of like what I wish the entirety of the series could be by the end, but it was just thoroughly enjoyable. Of course, we're debuted to the character Yamato. It's all about her basically in this episode, and the interactions between she and Fubuki were just, cream of the crop stuff, storytelling and character development stuff, and I really felt for her character, and we're only just introduced to her in this episode. Now, I have to say also that this episode was somewhat of a surprise to me because I hadn't expected, being that it was a downtime episode and they're on this sort of very posh and lush island and everything, and there's this hotel, of course, Yamato being called Hotel Yamato, and that's the last thing she wants to be referred to as, because she has dreams and longings to go out to sea and be part of the battle and all this stuff that Fubuki really relates to. But I was somewhat surprised that all of the girls are pretty much here on this particular island. From the get-go, we're immediately introduced to, Yudachi and Matsuki and Zuikaku, Kaga, Akagi. They're all there, even Nagato and her partner Mutsu and everything like that. And that was somewhat of a surprise. I kind of was under the impression as we opened this episode, we might have just been following Fubuki and the few girls of her sort of assault team and everything like that. So it was a pleasant surprise. That's the thing, I got a whole crap load of poise out of Yudachi in this episode. She's like the most cute character out of all of them. They all have their kawaii moments and stuff like that, especially in this episode. There was one that I'll be getting to in a few minutes here that just surprised me in how adorable it was. But of course, you can pretty much say that for all of these Fleet girls. They are all adorable in their own ways. Just that poi thing, I love when she's talking about, going up against the abyssals, and we'd make them go poi poi poi, I was dying with that one. Of course, as I've talked to some of you guys in the comments on the previous episode discussion videos, been loving Congo and her putting in English terminology. She even corrects someone in this episode. I forget what exactly it was she was saying, but she said, no, this is how you say it, or how you pronounce it and that kind of stuff. And it was just a thoroughly enjoyable episode, as I say. For me, the biggest aspect of this was really feeling for Yamato herself, because she has those longing dreams of being out on the sea, being able to achieve, and because of things like the massive fuel consumption as we see in this episode, it's to rival Akagi as far as how much food is going to be intake after she's out on the ocean, and everything like that, out on the water, just going out to sort of drift a little bit with Fubuki at one point. And we see that Nagato is none too pleased. Fubuki gets punished by having to go clam digging, whatever you want to say about that. I don't know if there's any innuendo to be taken from that or what have you, but again, we see, Yamato kind of thanking her for that, and it leads up to Fubuki's finding a way to get her out on the water without that fuel consumption aspect, I love that we still have the sort of butting heads between Zuikaku and Kaga in this episode, but I love that Kaga is kind of begrudgingly so, admittedly, but she's kind of taking on an almost mentorish role. I guess kind of, seeing how Akagi is leading, in a sense. She kind of seems like the more mature of the two of them, of the sister ships that they are. And I like how, Kaga kind of turns around at one point when Zuikaku's getting all sort of up in her face about, we would have taken the island in the previous mission. We failed at it. We could have destroyed this abyssal stronghold, but we failed and all this stuff. But there's still a level of pride in Zuikaku. This is how much we achieved, and this is what we achieved, and, we're better than Squad 1 or whatever like that. And you have Kaga not rising to that adversarial sort of like trolling. She pats Zuikaku on the head and is like, you done good, girl, you know. And even Akagi's like, you told her, you know, she did good. I'm proud of you for that. And you see Kaga kind of, you know, blushing in that moment. But that's, you know, the cream of the crop of this episode was the character interaction. Of course, you have Nagato, as I was saying, one of the cutest aspects of this episode for me. And it wasn't, you know, the standout thing in this episode is all the cuteness and everything. I mean, you had bikinis, boobs, and bombs basically going on in this episode. But suffice to say, I've loved the Nagato character for her strength and her sort of subdued demeanor as we've seen her depicted in this series so far. And I love that for a moment in this environment, in this very lush sort of hotel vacation-like environment, when they have a little bit of downtime, refueling, all of that, there's this moment where Nagato is, you know, basically having a bath. She's in the sort of hot spring or whatever you want to call it, the pool, and herein comes this little squirrel, and she just loses it. There's nobody else around. She makes sure nobody else is around, and she lets down that demeanor of poise and of sort of, you know, rigid authoritarianness that she carries, and she grabs this little thing, she's snuggling with it, she's baby talking to it, and then we see Mutsu has seen this, but she denies hearing any part of it. And then of course later, once you have this scene where, you know, you have Fubuki trying to get Yamato out on the water with this raft kind of thing she's concocted, almost like a tugboat scenario. You know, they're going to tug her out onto the water. Fubuki can't manage it, and you find Yudachi and Mutsuki decide to help her. They're talking about the formations, the military on the water formations of the ships, you know, fleet girls and all of that. They come under the attack, by the way, of some of these abyssal planes that got through like the second fleet or what have you. And we basically see Yamato just open fire, like she just turns them into dust. One hit with all of her, you know, firing and just the equipment you see her decked out with. It's just like, boom, they're gone. You know, they're paper on the wall. They're completely disintegrated in one shot. But after this, because you saw Fubuki get in trouble with the having to dig for clams and everything for the food, by trying to do this originally, not realizing the fuel consumption and all of that, you basically see, once that's all said and done, because of the loud noise, you know, the loud explosions of the firing that Yamato unleashed on this particular fleet of planes, all the girls on the island are probably going to be aware of this, and they zoom in on, you know, Nagato and Mutsu overseeing this, and basically Nagato's like, you know, radio in the planes they let get by, they were destroyed and all this stuff. And you think Nagato's going to be really prideful and really angry, and she's going to come clamping down on Fubuki for doing it again, for breaking the rules again. And even, you know, Yamato's like, no, it's not their fault, it was me, and all this stuff. And Nagato's just like, what are you talking about? It's time to eat. Let's go get dinner, you know? And right in that moment, as Nagato's walking away, you have Mutsu holding the same squirrel. Nagato's trying to ignore it, and as she walks past, she starts baby talking the squirrel. Isn't Nagato so good and everything like that? I loved it. I loved the cuteness, the kawaiiness, the comedy, the drama, all of that stuff in this episode. This was a pitch perfect episode for me as an anime fan, with, by the way, a very eclectic taste, so that, you know, if I see comedy coming and I get a sense that there's a clever mesh going on between comedy and drama, which I don't necessarily feel this series has had. I don't think it's had a pitch-perfect mesh all told, but there are episodes like this one that really conform to my particular tastes in that regard, where I feel like, you know, some people might react to this episode and say it was slow going, nothing really happened. This was really a character-driven episode, and while I can take sort of free-for-all, crazy, absurdist episodes of anime and series, you know, stuff like that, this is what I gravitate to a little bit more than that kind of stuff, you know. So, I mean, this episode just had it all for me. I even love, you know, during one of the eating sequences or preparing food and such like that, you get to see one of the little fairies as a maid. I feel like these are sort of relegated to Easter eggs in the series, being that I'm not somebody who's familiar with the games and everything like that. And some of you guys have pointed me, as I've said in previous videos, to the manga, which sort of delves more into the fairies and and all that kind of stuff. It's just, I really love seeing the fairies in this series, especially this little blue-haired maid one, you know, everything like that. They should make figures of those, too, that you can collect. I got my first KanColle figure, which was Shimakaze. Did another video on that. But yeah, I'm kind of rambling now, you know, about this episode. Just thoroughly enjoyable was what it was for me. And I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 8 of Kantai Collection KanColle. And I'm very intrigued, I gotta say, for the next episode, because that little sort of blurb we get at the end, we hear Yudachi saying something about second upgrade. And wow, that, you know, I'm kind of fascinated by that. I know some of these girls in the game and in, you know, sort of other fiction, the manga and stuff like that, and even fan art, you see representations of them getting upgrades. And I know Fubuki's supposed to have one. I don't know if she has prior to this series, or if this is kind of the version 1, model 1 of Fubuki, and she will be getting an upgrade, or if multiple girls will be. But at least we see, you know, Yudachi seems to be one of the ones who's going to be getting an upgrade, and I can't wait to see what exactly that entails from a character aesthetic. You know, will a personality be changed? Will it be the same girl, she just has better equipment? That kind of thing. They could really do anything they want to in this particular series along those lines. And so yeah, what do you guys think of this particular episode and where you know we're going to be going from here? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, I hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.